Episode 70, we answer your questions on PressThis. Hey everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of PressThis. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm Dan.
Episode 70.
Episode 70.
We finally get to answer questions from you.
We've been doing this periodically, folks. So what is the show?
Oh, yeah.
PressThis is your look at the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins, themes, theme frameworks, news, anything going on in WordPress. We did an app last week on iOS. Delivered to you reviews, unbiased reviews. It's a good time. And we've been doing this listener question thing a few times. So should we just jump right into it?
Yeah, let's just jump right into it.
So first question we get, this is actually a question we get a lot, so I didn't plug somebody's name in here. It's just, what constitutes a one-site license? A lot of people ask that question, and I think it's a little bit loaded because it depends. Mm-hmm. Typically, when you hear one-site license, the tendency to think is one domain. So slocumstudio.com, slocumthemes.com, whatever it might be, that's a domain, right? But if you're using a multi-site, it might be a little different.
Right. And I think what you really have to understand from the author's point of view or the company you're buying this theme or plugin from, it really ends up being that support, unless it's some kind of like data-driven plugin where there's like communication going on with like an outside third-party server or something like that, sending data, SEO thing. But the idea is that you can install this theme or plugin on this one domain that we will support you with. Right. So if you were to buy a single user license for a theme and you installed it on 10 of your client sites and you emailed the provider of that theme, said, hey, Zicky.net's having a problem. Can you help me with this? Developer says, yeah, no problem. You have one license and I will support. And then all of a sudden next week you send them a totally different domain and you say, hey, can you help me with this? The developer will look, well, you only have a one-site license. I noticed from our notes
that you used the other
this
one.
Now you're in this one. I can only support you on this one domain.
Right.
It's more for that. It's more for the support that the developer is going to provide for you. That's why they sell the multi-domains so that they can recoup some of that support cost because you are making money on it potentially if you have it on multiple domains.
And you might have mentioned this already in that conversation, but just to kind of reiterate, if it is multi-site, so one WordPress install with maybe multiple subdomains or things of that nature, typically plugins will kind of tell you. So when you go to download that plugin, if it costs $50, it'll say supports multi-site, or it'll appeal to that scenario, I think.
Correct.
A little bit.
Correct. Great question.
Great.
We do get that a lot because a lot of you in the audience are building WordPress sites for other folks, making a little bit of money off of it. You have any of those other types of questions about
fire away? That's what
running your WordPress business? You know where to go.
You got it.
mattreport.com.
There you go. So we have the next one's from Ali Tufan Pelavan. I hope I got that right. Hi, I want to ask you something about deciding the right WordPress theme and plugin. I want to make a website about health and medical news. It will be updated constantly with news and articles. I wanted to add a question and answers part in that website. Especially it will be based on questions and answers like ask your medical doctor. But I don't want any answer except mine. So just a question and one admin's answer, not like forum style. How can I do that? Excuse me for spending your time. Oh, it's totally cool. You can spend some of our time here. We've actually been working with clients recently on a lot of these what are called LMS plugins. So plugins that incorporate question and answer fields, either just for one person, so one person can view the answers, so you can display an answer and have learning materials. We actually have a couple videos I'll just link, and you can go visit those. One of them we go over Sensei, which is the Woo Themes branded one, and then we talk about WP Courseware and TrainUp, and another one.
Yeah. We get this every question or every WordPress project we build. 9 times out of 10, we're getting this question like, what is it that, what theme out there will work for this scenario? The answer is every single theme will work for you, except it won't. Because every theme will work with whatever concept you want to come up with. But there's always that. So that's like the 80%. It works. The 20%, the hardest part, the hardest last mile to get to is tweaking the user interface that makes sense with this type of content. So any theme, any WordPress theme is by default going to run a blog. The blog post, WordPress post, could be the question. The answers could come in the comment section. Done. It's as easy as that.
Yep.
Any theme will work.
Yep.
You might say, well, that's not really what I want. I need some structure. Oh, so you need to mold and morph that UI into something a little bit better.
Yep.
Well, then I would go and I would search for Q&A themes.
Right.
But a lot of that, then what's going to happen is, we work with a medical firm that's building something similar to this.
Yep.
These questions aren't just a couple sentences.
Yep.
Just like, hey, what color is the sky today?
Yeah.
It's like diagrams,
Yeah,
videos.
then it gets into all that stuff. Yeah.
Then you say, well, these Q&A pre-built themes, they're meant for like Yahoo Answers. It's just like these quick little things and people reply. We need, lots
it gets
of
pretty
content.
heavy. It can be
pagination within these questions. That kind
There's
of
so
thing.
much to think about. So
there is a lot to think about. Any theme will work, but that 20% is the hardest part. Although it's a small part, it's the hardest part to solve. Just know that you can do it if you find the right designer or developer for that scenario.
Sure.
And then, like Dan said, the LMS plugins will kind of help with that question and answer function part.
Right, and if you're doing that, you're going to want to look at really clean themes to use for that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
On a real base level too, I believe Gravity Forms and Ninja Forms, and we can double check for the show notes. I know Gravity Forms for sure has a quiz module, which will actually.
Cool. I didn't know that. Oh, I did know that. Yeah, I do remember seeing that.
Yeah. So you can actually get some like graph-driven results.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks. Do you know of a plugin or software that can increase pixel density to make Retina images to save having to re-upload hundreds of images? Multiple people have asked this question as well. We have a couple of recommendations for you because most people will use the Regenerate Thumbnails plugin, which is a free plugin in the repository, and you take every image you have and then it generates images. The problem is if your images aren't big enough, you really can't go up. I mean, that's true of anything, of any of these plugins. You need to have an image that's at least big enough to be Retina ready.
Right.
Which is usually about double, about 2 times the size.
What do you know about Retina displays?
Yeah, right. But when you're looking at these guys, about 2 times the image size. So if you have an image with a width of 750 pixels by default, and you're trying to increase it to 1500 pixels, I can do math, to 1500 pixels, it just isn't going to happen. Or if it does happen, it's going to look real bad because it's going to be twice the size but just blown up. So you have to make sure that your image is originally that size. But to save having to regenerate and create multiple images, there's a couple great plugins out there. There's Simple WP Retina, which we actually, John developed for us way back, which you still have for free in the repository. And the ever popular WordPress Jetpack plugin has a built-in piece of it called Photon, or an extension of it called Photon, that also does that as well. We actually talked about Photon and the other one before.
Yeah. So Photon's your best bet, or excuse me, Jetpack, and using the Photon module
be your best bet.
Inside that will also help speed up the load of those images as well. It doesn't just doesn't just do the math to make it load Retina, but it also kind of load it on their content delivery network.
They load through their servers. We actually talk about that in the video too. Yeah, that not only is it the Retina images, but right through them, which is great.
Bingo.
Maybe bad if they go down or something, like if their server's down. But anyway. This is a really good question. This is the last question for the day. It's which membership plugin has Facebook login? Great question. So we looked at Discus for like chat solutions before, which I know isn't the exact answer you're looking for here. For a chat solution, logging with Facebook or Twitter, that's great. But we did find a couple free plugins just by quickly looking. Social Login from Claude Schlesser, which works with BuddyPress. Built in, but I don't know if it would work with a lot of other membership plugins. And also this other guy here, what's it called? Social Login and Social Sharing by Jane Rand, which is also another one that does kind of the same thing. But it's not like the full integrated into a membership plugin solution. So that might be a good topic for another episode of the show.
Yeah, like social signups. That's a really it's a really gray area. There's so much stuff that can go wrong, and there's so much data being sent and captured. It's just not an easy thing to do because you have to actually let's Facebook login, for example. Yeah. You have to make the Facebook app on Facebook. You have to set all this stuff up. Then you have to go and install the plugin. Then you got to make sure that they're synced and they're connecting to each other. You don't know what kind of information
is being shared.
Is being shared. What types of information the user is going to want. So I'm pretty sure people stay away from that because then they are also relying on that service to be up and running.
I wanted to bring that up because I actually never thought of it this way, because I'm just so connected. As I'm working for a tech company, I'm really connected to this stuff. One of my good friends actually recently, not even just like Joe website, he was using Spotify, huge music service, right? He actually canceled his Facebook account and he could not get into his Spotify because he logged in via Facebook. There was absolutely nothing he could do about it. He's paying $10 a month or whatever it is for Spotify, and he couldn't get into his own account because it was only through Facebook. They didn't capture an email. So be sure to like either try to capture that information for customer support going through, or just don't even make it an option. I mean, we can look at these plugins, but maybe it's better to just use email-based membership.
Yeah, I think it's probably been about a year since we worked on an app where we did a Facebook login, and I think you could capture the email.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a lot of things that goes on. There's a token that goes along with that, then that expires. There's all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure that the developers out there making these plugins, like the ones we've mentioned, I'm sure they don't want to have to deal with that support, because ultimately that's what happens. They say, "Hey, why isn't this working?" And so Facebook's not accepting this data, so it's not a real easy thing. But these might work. Yeah, these might work.
Give them a shot. They're free.
Yeah, absolutely. Put it on a test server. I think we talked about that too, right? Building in a test environment or building your site locally. Try to do that as much as you can.
Awesome. Well, I'll put like these together, and you guys can read the article and get these links if you want to go there and download them.
Sweet. My Twitter just blew up because Gmail just went down. Pretty amazing
great
stuff. Okay, what else do we want you to do on this show? We want you to hit subscribe. I think we're almost at 3,000 people now.
We're getting there. Yeah, it's great.
The most subscribed active WordPress show in
fantastic.
the entire. What's bigger than a universe?
Yeah,
the universe.
Yeah.
Let's ask Scott. Scott's an astronomer.
The multiverse.
Yeah. Multiverse.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate your attention, your comments, feedback, everything. It's great.
Got more questions? Fire away. Need some WordPress themes? SilkyThemes.com. Thanks everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys.